athletes develop proficiency, assist, and passion for the game they love. Today is going to be a very, very unique show. Our guest started his baseball career in Puerto Rico. He is a dual player when he played. Also, he can hit and he can pitch. He was a mini version of Utube. Also, he leads the opportunity. He had an opportunity to play in Japan, Taiwan, China, and with the Yankees minor league system. We are going to go international today. Our guest today is very own Carlos Marabel. Hope I pronounced it right. If I didn't,
Mirabelle,
Marabel.
close.
And he is with the Baseball United New Dubai Professional Baseball.
Mhm.
So we're going to talk deep about that as well. He also is a manager in baseball operation. He's exclusively dives into baseball. He talks about Japan, baseball. He also shares his passions with the sport. He has quite a bit of role. He's like a mentor based on his resume. With that being said, he does the scouting, the coaching, he emphasizes developmental baseball. He's helping the countries like India, Pakistan, and Sri
Sri Lanka.
Lanka. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. And Carlos also his key role is mentorship for young players today in United Baseball. He's creating opportunities for guys to play baseball in other countries that may not have the opportunity to do that. He is dedicated. He's extremely consistent and making a difference in these boys' life today. Very own Carlos. Thank you, Carlos. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you
Yeah.
coming on today. It has been a challenge trying to get you on. We finally got you on, and I'm so excited because you are one of the first guys that I've wanted to talk to because this Dubai baseball. I have
Yeah.
talked to some guys that played in the MLB, um, and we talked about. I was like, man, I got this guy coming on. I'm excited about it, and we're just gonna dive in. Let's just start in the beginning. Let's talk about your beginning.
Hmm.
Let's talk about because I know the story, but the listeners don't know your story.
Yeah.
Talk about you playing baseball in the beginning. How was your beginning when you first started playing baseball at an early age?
Um, I don't know how to describe it other than it's just a way of life. Growing up, my father Puerto Rican,
Yes.
uh, from Puerto Rico, grew up in the South Bronx, and just loved to play baseball. So I have two older brothers. So for me, it was just a matter of that's how I grew up. Yeah, I played football, I played soccer, basketball, all of those things. Everybody played all those different
Right.
sports, but baseball was just one of those things. It's just ingrained in the family and the culture,
Right.
and I just played. Whether it was playing shortstop, outfield, pitcher. I didn't catch. That's the only thing I didn't do. I wasn't gonna get behind the plate and catch. No way. But that's just how I started, man. It was just
Okay.
a way of life. And the journey that I took to play baseball um, is one of those I tell people, if you love the game of baseball, you find a way to get it done,
Yeah. Right.
and that's it. There's no candy coating it. There's no,
Just get it done.
tricks and secrets.
Right.
There's none of that. You just got to go out there and perform and
Play.
execute, and that's it.
Well,
And there's nothing else to it.
I like that because, I know a little bit more about your background than the listeners today, but
Yeah,
I want to say this to you because what about the kid that don't like school? Let's talk about that because I coach here
yeah,
and there's a lot of kids that don't like school. Can you give
yeah,
them some advice because you have firsthand experience with that? Because your situation was a little different, which
yeah,
it's a different situation now. They got travel ball, they got
yeah,
PG, prospect select, they got all these different things. So, what would you tell a young kid today, little Carlos,
yeah.
that doesn't like school? What would you tell him today?
Well, I would say this. It wasn't that I didn't like school. School was fine for me. College a little different academically. I wasn't. It just wasn't for me.
Right.
Um, so I left college and I went to play in Puerto Rico. But I- I'll say this. In today's world, there's more opportunities to do more things than
Yes.
from when I was growing up.
Right.
Whether it's opportunities to do more because there's more availability of different baseball leagues or basketball leagues or coaches
Right.
or academies or just any of those kinds of things that are out there, there's more availability to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I tell this to all the kids all the time. Just go out there and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Play different sports, have fun. Don't try to be, a big leaguer when you're 10 years old, when you're 13 years old. Be a 13-year-old,
I like
be
that.
a 14-year-old. I think the thing that happens today is, when, parents see the kind of money that's involved in professional sports, they view their kid as that potential already before the process.
All right.
There's a whole process to it. There's a whole thing that goes on before you can reach those levels.
Okay.
And today, a lot of parents may try to push a little harder for that. And I also think there's a lot of coaches out there, or there's a lot of academy instructors, or there's a lot of people out there that kind of falsify what reality is,
Yes.
because they want your money.
Mm.
Bring your kid to my academy so I could teach you. Oh, your kid is great. Your kid is this. They just want your money.
That's right.
That's basically what it is. And when I teach kids, and I also try to teach the parents as well, I try to teach them what's real. I'm
Mm.
not going to teach you what it takes to be in a, a higher level organization when the kid is 14 or 15 years old. I'm going to teach the kid how to be a 14-year-old, how to be a 15-year-old, and how to use whatever I can teach him baseball wise
I got you.
that works.
Mm.
Because, the reality behind things today is, there's so much instruction out there from non-qualified baseball people that are just filling your head because they're getting paid money to do a
Right.
lesson,
Mm-hmm.
or build a travel ball team
Right.
so
Right.
they can make money. And
Mm.
I'll never fault people for wanting to make money.
Correct.
I just don't like the idea of trying to, mask it behind something that you're not very knowledgeable at.
Mm. Carlos,
And
that's good, man. Ooh, that's good.
I get a lot of kids and a lot of parents that I do teach, and I just teach them what I feel is the correct way for
Mm.
them to find their path. Because my pitching technique is not going to work for you. It's not going to work. It just doesn't. It's not. I hook the ball. You don't teach those things.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think it's better than somebody else's? No. It's my journey. It's how I was able to throw the
I like
ball,
that.
and advance. There are
Mm.
certain things in baseball we use the word fundamental.
Correct.
And
Correct.
there are certain fundamentals that athletes need to get into in certain positions that we all get into. But how do we get into those positions? And then
Mm-hmm.
understanding when we get into those positions, whether it's pitching, hitting, catching, fielding, running, throwing, whatever it
Right.
is, or football or basketball, it's what you do when you're in those positions. And
Mm.
how do you make the adjustments to get the result so that whatever you're doing, whether it's a travel ball, whether it's a high school team, whether it's a college team, whatever it is, you're
Right.
getting the result that you're going out there to get.
Wow.
So that's kind of how I approach it.
Hey, Carlos, you said something. It leads me to the next question. You said something that's very profound, and I'm going to paraphrase it, make it
Yeah,
short. How do you know someone's genuine because they're taking your money? And this is great because it's part of the show. Because the bottom line is this: before we came on the air, we talked,
yeah,
and I like the way you talk, and I talk the same way. I give people the truth, even if it hurts them.
yeah,
It doesn't matter if it hurts you because I gotta sleep at night. I want to make sure I feel
yeah,
good. So if I give you the truth, even if it hurts, it's okay because at the
yeah.
end of the day, I'm not taking your money. So how would you educate the listeners, or a father or a mother or a young kid that's listening? How do you educate them to know if the person that's training them is genuine?
Um, it's very simple. Anybody that's you're paying is going to be biased towards something because they want you to keep paying them. So how do you know someone is genuine or not? Is if you're paying for their service and they're not really trying to BS you for their service. My job, if I'm trying to teach your kid baseball or do something like that, My job is to teach your kid baseball so that hopefully the kid doesn't need me to be in certain roles if you're going to keep me around. So I try to teach the kid how to adjust, how to listen, how to, you know, listen to other coaches and things like that. What I find is that a lot of kids will use me but then leave, which is great. A lot of them come back because sometimes you need that little, there's a lot more to baseball than just the physical part. Sometimes
That's
it's the
right.
mental part. That's the coaching part. That's the thing.
Right.
And to know if they're genuine is this: when you're paying somebody to coach your kid or something like that, when you're not paying that person anymore, how does that person react?
Mm.
Because there's a lot of people out there, when you're not paying them anymore, they don't talk to you. They
That's
don't
right.
still try to help you.
That's
They
right.
don't still answer your questions. So what I make sure is I tell the people I talk to or coach or kids or parents is, listen, I'll help your kid as much as I can with whatever we're doing, whether it's a lesson, whether it's helping a multiple group of kids or whatever it is. And then, I just make myself readily available on a non-paying scale
I
if
got you.
if they should have any questions. So
Oh,
it doesn't just end with whatever you're paying,
correct.
and
Correct.
obviously I don't teach like I used to because I'm full-time Baseball United. But when I was doing like Saturdays and Sundays where I was 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night and you're constantly running through, is everybody I teach still messages me, calls me, texts me,
Right.
hey,
Right.
I'm in high school now. I know it's been a while, but can you
Right.
take a look at my pitching mechanics?
Right.
And then I'll take a look at the pitching mechanics and just respond back. And then might not hear from that person at all
Right.
anymore, or two, three
Right.
years later. Well,
Right.
that's how you know someone's genuine.
I
Not just
got
a
you.
person taking your money when you're not taking their money anymore. They don't devote any more time.
Mm.
So to me, that's how you find out if somebody's real or not.
I like that.
Yes, your service is valued,
Correct.
but are you a genuine person, or are you
Hmm.
just a service-based person?
Right.
Do you only provide a service when you're getting paid? I
Exactly.
feel baseball is an ongoing process.
Right.
I can't teach your kid everything in 3 months, but if I see your kid and teach them certain fundamentals, like we said, well, then it might take, every once in a while, hey, if the kid needs to keep in touch to find out something's going
Right.
on, they reach out to me and I
Right.
answer back. That's how
Right.
you know if somebody's genuine.
I
If
like that.
somebody you're paying and then you try to reach out to them and you never hear from that person again, obviously they only responded whenever you showed them
Right.
money.
I like that.
And
Carlos, that's
to
good.
me, if you're basing your education of teaching kids or anyone in baseball
Right.
on a paycheck, how genuine are you? Now, do people need to make money? Obviously.
Yeah. Correct.
You need
Correct.
to make money to pay bills and pay
Correct.
rent. But
Correct.
again, how do you know if someone's genuine?
Right.
You
Carlos,
know?
that's good, man. That's Carlos. You hit it great, man. Because I like that. Because let me give you a little story, backstory. What you just
Yeah.
said. I flew in last night. Came in. I told you I came in late last
Yeah.
night, and I didn't check my phone because I was in the air. And
Yeah.
make a long story short, I got a phone call. I think at like 11:30 at night, and I didn't check the phone because it was already turned off after I
Yeah.
did my Uber, come home from the airport, and I looked on my phone. Goes back to what you just said. I had a three players that I coached. They
Yeah.
they graduated. They're in college now, and they all called me on FaceTime. But I missed the call.
Yeah.
But I was like, that tells you that you're impacting those
Yeah.
kids beyond the field. So that's
Absolutely.
basically saying what you just said. Leaving an impact. Now, yeah, you can
Yep.
teach them baseball, but you got to go further than that because
Yeah.
now, like I'm doing the podcast. If I say, "Hey, I got a podcast, can you promote it?" Oh yeah, coach. Anything because now
Yeah.
they know that you really care about them. Is that what you?
Absolutely.
Is that what you're saying, Carlos?
Absolutely. And this is the thing. This is the thing that it's hard today in the world of marketing when it comes to mentoring kids or teaching kids. It's the new school versus the old
The old
school.
school. Yes. Yes.
Well, why do we say new school? Why do we say old school? That's a marketing thing. You know, what is genuine?
Hmm.
It's no different than me talking to coaches I had when I was playing.
Correct.
You know, I still talk to some of the coaches I had because they have impact,
Correct.
or they want to see how I'm doing, or I want to see how
Correct.
they're doing, or how's baseball going, or how's anything going in
Right.
life. You know, those are genuine relationships you build throughout baseball. They're not, let me pay you for your time. You know, do people, but don't get me wrong, like I
Right.
said,
You
people
get
still
paid.
need, that's the reality.
Correct.
But how do you know if someone's genuine?
Right. I
You
mean, that's
know?
good you said that because because that's the problem that most people have. They think
Yeah.
because we got a little 10-year-old and he's hitting the ball out the park. Well, we're talking 10-year-olds, like you
Yeah.
just said. Let's see how he does when he gets about 18.
Yeah.
Because I mean, a lot of times, which you know this, and I know this because I train as well. A lot of times, those kids don't play baseball no more after
No.
high school because they're
No,
burnt out.
absolutely.
They've been living that dream through their parents.
Yep.
But that's another sermon for another day. You know where I'm going. You
But
talk.
but again,
Go ahead.
that goes back to that new school, old
Old
school.
school.
Because new school is a marketing term to sell. Old
Correct.
school is let me discredit. Well, but what is this all about?
Hmm.
It's all about it's all the same stuff.
Right.
You know, if you get a kid that's being pushed and doing that stuff and gets burnt out, well, because new school is trying to get you money and they're not being genuine because they're telling you your kid hit a home run at 10 years old. Oh my God, he's going to be a first round draft pick at 10 years old. Well, enjoy the kid being 10 years old hitting a home run.
Right. Right.
And then when he's 11, enjoy him being an
Yeah,
11-year old.
11. I like that.
If he wants to take a little time off and play some football, play some
Right.
basketball, play
Right.
some football and basketball.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
like it.
like there's seasons for stuff.
Everything. For
If the
everything.
kid loves baseball and wants to continue to play baseball, well, how do you present it to him? How do you keep it fun for him? How do you keep it exciting for him?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or are you chasing the new school
Mm-hmm.
dollar? You see what I mean?
I,
Like
I,
so,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
that's the thing I always try to say is, you know, if a kid is getting burnt out, a kid is getting burnt out. It is what it is, you know,
Right.
but
Right.
you know, it's just one of those things is, you know, don't let that kid go down the avenue of people that just want to hype somebody up because you're filling their pocket.
Correct. 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 People
You know,
pleasers. Basically, people pleasers.
yeah,
And Carlos, you said something earlier. I didn't want to skip the question. Looking at your resume, you're a dual position player,
yeah,
and you talked about being an athlete. Let's talk about being an athlete. One of the things I noticed, this is what I've noticed
yeah,
here where I'm at in South Florida. A lot of these kids they don't play two sports; they
no,
play one sport.
yeah,
So let's talk about that. Because you're Puerto Rican
yep,
and you come from a community, a culture that played soccer,
yeah,
football, baseball, and I did too. I
yeah,
played basketball. Believe it or not, I was a baseball player in college. Played a little bit of independent ball, got cut, semi-pro ball, college ball,
yeah,
but before that, this goes back to the question. I played football first,
yeah.
and then I played basketball, and I played all these different sports. So, can you educate the listeners and the parents about why is it so important to be an athlete, not just a baseball player?
So again, the mentality behind the culture today
Okay.
is that everybody wants you to feel that the only way to become a high level baseball player, a high level football player, is that you have to play this one sport. And you have to play from the time that you're young. And you have to do this, you have to do this. It's a business, again, BS, bull BS
Hmm.
culture that's out there for people that want to make money. And the reality is this: you don't have to pick up a baseball or a baseball bat until you're older in life. And if you have skill, you're gonna find a place to play, or somebody can look at you and they can evaluate you. And if you have that ability or skill, you can still become a high level baseball player.
Baseball player.
Football, same
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
You know, there's athletes out there, you see it all the time. You know, the kid never played organized football in his whole life, and now he's played in one or two football games in high school, and he's got a full scholarship to a Division I school
Right. Right. Right.
because he was an athlete and he showed
Right.
He showed the ability to do something that somebody saw that was like, well, he runs faster,
Right.
he's agile, he's this, he's that, and wow, look what he did in his first game of football in high school. I want this kid in my college
I
because I
like that.
know I can teach him. I know I can develop him.
Mm,
Those kinds of things.
that's good.
And this is what we go back to earlier. If you tell a kid at 10 years old, he's going to be the greatest home run hitter, but he's really not that good.
Right.
Well, what's going to happen? He's going to get to higher levels and then he's going to struggle because he's not going to be good enough to play because he's been told he was good all his life.
Right.
So be an athlete, have fun, be a kid.
I
If you're
like that.
young, play football, play basketball, play organized stuff because when you get older, those things are limited.
Mm,
Whether it's, you could play in a recreational league or
right.
something
Right.
like that, but they're limited.
Correct.
So usually when you get out of high school or, you go to college, well, now it could be more defined because you're not going to get too many
Correct. Dual.
football,
Right.
baseball,
Players.
basketball. That you'll have some, but not too many.
That's right. You're right.
And all the athletic skills in all the sports kind of coincide.
You're right.
You know?
They do.
If
Exactly.
you're out there on the basketball court, you're running, you're jumping, you're running fast, stopping, cutting, going in different directions. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
constantly, doing short bursts of quick, explosive,
Exactly. And
dynamic movements.
you're exactly
Football
right.
field, you're doing things like that as well. So they all kind of translate to being an athlete.
I like that.
And if you look at most of the best athletes, they played football, they played all different sports.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, there are some that specifically focused on one thing.
One.
Maybe they were better than most
Correct. Correct.
and they were able to advance, but that's not your typical,
Correct. You're right.
typical way of doing things in life. That
Right.
doesn't happen to everybody.
Right. Because there's one that I want to say that you just ring the bell.
Yeah,
Aaron Judge, he played basketball and he
yeah,
played baseball.
yeah,
And also Mike Trout. Mike Trout
yeah,
played football and baseball.
yeah.
The list goes on and on. Bo Jackson played football and baseball. Deion Sanders, primetime, played football and baseball.
And they ran track.
And yeah, and you got the list goes on and on. I'm sitting and
Yeah,
AJ Brown that plays for the Eagles. I think he played for the Eagles.
baseball.
He played baseball first.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. And I
Ricky
seen that.
Williams.
Yeah, Ricky really played baseball too, and
Yeah,
I didn't know that. So for all the guys that are listening and parents that are listening, there's nothing wrong with playing two sports.
no,
And I just want to make sure I go out there because I need to go out there, and you just to help me get out there. But there's something else you talked about that I love on your resume. As you guys just tuned in, this is episode 75, and we're talking to the very own international baseball operations, Baseball United, Carlos. And Carlos, listen to this one. You talked about developmental,
yep,
and that's like a bad word. I'm just
yep.
being honest. That's a bad word to most people because developmental. Can you explain the importance of having the proper developmental?
Well, again, why is developmental not such a great word in today's environment? Because it doesn't produce the money. You know, today everything has to be fast. It
Correct.
has to be, I need it yesterday. So in sports, you see younger players reaching higher levels that are not developed to
Correct.
reach those higher levels.
Correct.
And it takes the product of what's on the field, whether it's baseball, football, or certain sports, it takes it away from what it truly can be. And when you have development, and this is again, it depends on the sport, depends on the organization. When you have development can be a good thing. Patrick Mahomes, he was a quarterback, or he's a quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Correct.
Well, he didn't just get drafted and start with the Kansas City Chiefs. He
Correct.
sat
Correct.
when he got his opportunity. He sat, he learned, he developed, and then he became Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
So development can be a good thing. Today, it's hard to preach development because people need the results faster,
Mm-hmm.
quicker. And again, because whatever the reason it may be, whether it's whatever sport in whatever country, and
Correct.
trying to get
Correct.
these players to higher levels quicker. You see it in baseball a lot. Guys are younger. You don't see too many older guys lingering around anymore.
Right.
Um, because it's, what's the development process? Minor leagues used to be developed to get to the major leagues.
Correct.
Now,
Correct.
see guys just getting drafted a year or two in the minors, and then they get it pulled up, and then they struggle at the big league level, but they don't get sent back down. And then next thing you know, a couple years, they're out of the big leagues because now they aged out and they're only 25, 26 years old.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what this development process is,
It's important.
well,
It's
it's
important.
it's not there as much anymore,
Mm.
or at least here in the United States.
Correct. And we know what you're doing over there with Baseball United, and that's very good because at the end of the day, we know the developmental is it's like building a house.
Yeah,
You can't build a house without a foundation. You need a
absolutely.
foundation. And also the people without a vision, they perish. Let's talk about vision. We talked
Yeah,
about development. Let's talk about vision. And the reason I said that is because looking at your resume, you had a vision.
yeah,
You had a vision very similar to my vision. I'm gonna tell you straight up, Carlos. I didn't like school.
yeah,
Period. I don't want. All I want to do is play
yeah,
ball. I'm from Chicago, born and raised West Side Chicago. I didn't like school. Didn't want to go to school. And the only reason I went to school because I wanted to play,
yeah,
and I knew it to keep me out of trouble. That's the bottom line. That's
yeah,
just the truth. I didn't like school. Never liked school, but I did like to read. I like to
yeah,
read, but I didn't like to go to school because in school that you got to take classes that you really don't
yeah,
want to take. I got to take this class. I'm like, why am I taking this class? Why am I taking this class here? It's not going to do anything with my major, but the problem is development is a problem. Now, without developmental, you can't really have a vision
yeah,
because developmental is basic building a foundation. So let's talk about vision because without a vision, the people perish. You got to have a vision, you know. And if you
yes.
don't have a vision, you don't know where you're going. People run scatter.
No,
And
absolutely.
so my question to you is: you talked about this before, and I heard in one of your podcasts you talked about visualization. How important is that, not just here in the United States, but also international?
It's very important, so for me, I don't know, I do a lot of podcasts, I do a lot of different things. My story is basically, when I was younger, you know, seventh grade into eighth grade, my gym teacher sat me down and was like, listen, you're not hanging out with the right people, you're not heading in the right direction. Where I grew up was one area was really bad,
Okay.
another area was mediocre, and then it was just the total opposite of very wealthy, very whatever.
Okay.
But, a lot of racial things, a lot of stuff. So,
Correct.
she just sat me down and said, listen, the city of Englewood, New Jersey is wanting to take some kids and send them to like camps, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever. So she was like, I recommended you because, I know you love baseball and, they don't have any of those things around here. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So she kind of saw that I was maybe with the wrong crowd or whatever. And as you're getting older and transition to high school, the high school, in the town I grew up in was not good. A lot of great athletes, but, selling drugs and,
Right.
that kind of thing. So for me, I went to the baseball camp, which was awesome. And then I went to a different high school. It was more of a technical high school. They don't prepare you for college. So high school for me was not bad at all. The classes, everything I had to take because they're preparing you. You're taking a shop class. They're preparing you to go to work,
I got you.
not college. So I had to try to catch up
Okay.
and take some classes because I knew I wanted to try to go to college. I was being recruited by a lot of big top Division I baseball programs.
Okay.
So to get into those schools, I wasn't prepared with your normal high school. So,
Okay.
when I graduated, it was going to be one of those. I was going to go to a Division III school where they can help me with, because obviously it was in the state of New Jersey, so I didn't have enough for the core courses in high school. So it was okay. I wouldn't get college credit, but I would be able to catch up.
Okay.
And then 2 weeks before school was going to start, a Division I university, Fairleigh Dickinson was like, "We don't care what you did in high school. We want you to come here." So then all of a
Really?
sudden, I went to Fairleigh Dickinson.
Okay.
You know, ECAC conference back then. I don't know what the conferences are
Yeah.
now, and they play Big East.
Back then.
out of
Yeah.
conference, and so I was like, okay. So I was like, all right, it's better baseball. One of the guys that graduated from there, he saw me pitching in one of the summer leagues. I was, in high school, I was undersized. I was 5'11", 165 pounds, but I can throw a ball like 90 miles an hour. And this is back in 1991. I could dunk a
Okay.
basketball with two hands behind my back.
That's being an athlete.
You know, I was fast, I was quick, but I was undersized. So I was being recruited by, you know, D1 schools, looked at by pro teams, but I didn't get drafted. And Florida State, Mike Martin was like, hey, we really love you. I went down there for a camp,
Okay.
but I didn't have the academics to get in because I went to a technical high
I
school.
got you. Okay.
So he was like, and back then I didn't have any direction, so he was like, go to a junior college, get just your grades, your classes, and then transfer. I didn't know. My baseball coach, Seton Hall, wanted to bring me there, and because it's in state, they could do financial aid, which is like a scholarship anyway. My parents
Right.
didn't have money, so they're like, we can get you all the money financial aid because your parents don't make a lot of money, and that's like having a scholarship. So then my
Correct.
baseball
Correct.
coach was like, well, I guess you can't go to Seton Hall then. I didn't know.
Right.
Hindsight would have been like I would have just went to Seton Hall.
Right.
And so I wasn't necessarily. So when I did get to college, it wasn't like I was lost. They just threw me. It was 2 weeks before, so they just threw me in classes that I wasn't prepared for.
Mm.
So I was lost. You know what I mean? I
Right.
wasn't. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So pretty
Right.
much I was just. I wasn't. High school wasn't preparing me for this.
I got you.
So this goes to the vision. That's when it was kind of like, it's just not for me. So I wanted to play pro baseball. Like I wanted
Okay.
to play baseball. That was my goal. That was what was in me.
Correct.
That was my vision.
Mm.
So I approached it differently. I approached it where, every time you step on the field, you want to dominate. That's how you get looked at.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a sophomore, I was throwing 88 miles an hour. This little skinny kid, not even 5'8",
Wow.
throwing 88 miles an hour. Kansas
That's
City
pretty good.
Royal scout was there. We thought he was from another high school because they had the same Royals. He was wearing the Royals thing. Had no idea, but he had a gun. He had me at 88 miles an hour. Then gave me a card. There's no social media, there's no emails. He gave me a card, fill it out so they can follow my progress. I threw at Shea Stadium for the Mets between my junior senior year. Went down to Florida State University my junior senior year, but like that summer for a camp.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just one of those things where my head was, you know, it, I'm going to be a baseball player.
I got you.
Oh, you're a college student? No, I'm a baseball player. You're working at a dry cleaner? No, I'm a baseball player.
I like it. I like
So
it. I like
I
it.
did what I had to do, and I left college. And my dad being from Puerto Rico, my mom being from Puerto Rico, I was able to play in the Double A
Yeah.
amateur league.
Yeah.
And back then it was all amateur. Now they let former professionals play in there.
Play- Yeah.
So I didn't have any money, didn't have nothing, and my brother bought me a plane ticket and gave me a credit card that had $300 on it and said, "Here you go." And I literally stayed at the hotel with the credit card until it ran out, and then I stayed, in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, on an old military base that had nobody on it except for me and at nighttime a security guard because it was not in a good area,
Mm.
and times I didn't have money to eat. I didn't have nothing, but in my head, this is what I got to do to play.
Right.
So I
Right.
made sure that my vision was just dominate.
I
It
got you.
wasn't be good. It wasn't do this. It was just dominate.
I like
It
it,
was
bro.
take whatever I have and dominate. So when I went out there to practice, if you were playing catch with me, I was throwing the ball 95 miles an hour playing catch. People would be like, calm down, take it easy. And I'm like, I don't have time to take it.
I like it. I like it. I
Like
like it.
I don't have time to take it easy. Like
Hmm.
I'm here
On a
to
mission. You're on a mission.
I'm on a mission. And looking at hindsight, looking back at it, my mother came down at one time. She saw where I was staying. It was just a room. I had no TV. I had, my brothers bought me they came down and saw where I was at, and they brought me like a little cassette player and some tapes, and I would do puzzles, and I would go to the track, run, and the nearest food was 5 miles away if I had money. So, and back then, You know, they still do it now. They give you some cash. I was paid. What was I paid? I was paid $20. I was the Friday night pitcher. I was paid $20 in cash. And if I did well, I might have got another $10, maybe $20 from the owner. And then practice, they gave us like $10, and we only practiced once a week. So
Mm.
I was living off of that, and again, the vision. This is just a stepping stone. What's
I
going
got
to
you.
happen next?
Right.
You know what I mean? And from there, I signed with the Yankees. I wound up getting hurt in spring training, and then it's like, okay, well, what do I do now?
Right.
It's the same thing. I was going to go back to Puerto Rico, but then I had a workout. I played independent ball in Altoona, Pennsylvania. But again, even that independent ball was just starting out. There was only the Northern League, I think, at that time,
Hmm.
with the St. Paul Saints or something like that,
Yeah, that's what it were.
so
Yeah,
there was
St. Paul Saints.
new league starting up. So
Hmm.
a new league was starting up, and it was the same thing. There was a workout. I went to the workout, and what was my goal?
Mm.
Dominate. And then after that year, I was going to go back to Puerto Rico now for winter ball,
Hmm.
and or I had the opportunity to. There was a workout in Florida for a new league in Taiwan.
Okay.
So okay, let me go down to Florida. And again, it was just get out there and dominate. And then
Mm.
they wound up bringing me over there for. They brought a bunch of guys over there for it was like 6 weeks to see, and then you would play games, and then the league started the following year. So I went over there, I did well, and then they brought me back for the league, and then I wound up 2 years in that league. Um, and then I switched to the other Taiwan league, CPBL. I became a closer and again dominated, and then I got from there to Japan.
Mm.
So my vision, if you had asked me, when I was young and all that kind of stuff, is I just wanted to be a professional baseball player. Yes, the major leagues is the major leagues, but I just wanted to be a professional baseball player. And
Hmm.
when I got to the Yankees, it was awesome. I got hurt. It was like, oh boy. But then when I got to like Taiwan and I got to Japan, Japan was, that's the big leagues, and then there were more opportunities. Now the Yankees wanted me back. Uh, Other big league teams wanted me to come back, and I couldn't get out of my contract. So my agent, I did all that without an agent, and all of a sudden I signed an agent over there. And again, how did I sign this agent?
Right.
Because I was married at the time, and I just had a child, and they were sitting in the family section, and there was an agent that was visiting one of our players that was a former big leaguer, and he had a player on the team we were playing who's a former big leaguer, and he was there to talk to them and their teams, about
Right.
their situations. And all of a sudden, I came in as a closer, and I was warming up. And again, when I came in warming up, I was just, I throw, I wasn't throwing easy. And he was just like, "Oh my God, who's this?"
Right.
And my wife at the time looked over and was like, "That's my husband." So how come I don't know who he is? Well, because when he just started with the Yankees organization, he got hurt, and then this is our journey. And he goes, "But how did you get here? They only take AAA or big leaguers." And she mentioned the story, jumped to Taiwan, and kept going. And he just was so impressed that we wound up signing him from there.
Mm.
And but to go back to from the journey, the vision was it was just I was going to keep going because I wanted to be a professional baseball player. And every time I took the field, I just tried to do my best to make sure that when you left, you were talking about me.
Hmm.
You weren't just talking about the team or whatever. You were talking about me.
Mm.
And then the opportunities just started opening up
I
from
like
there.
it.
But I wound up staying in Japan because you know, the first year I was in Japan, teams back here wanted to guarantee the contracts, but I couldn't get out of Japan. So then later, when I was able to try to get out of Japan, they didn't want to guarantee it, but I wasn't going to come back here and not. I wanted to play. Now I learned more of the business side of it. So I knew in Japan I had the opportunity to play, and that was my vision. That was my goal, is to
Hmm.
be a professional baseball player, and that's what I did.
I like it.
So when you're young today, it's I hate to say it, but there's too many people that their vision is clouded by their surroundings. And
Yep.
it's, I don't know, I don't know if it's whether it's guidance or not guidance. Again, I didn't have much guidance
Right. Right.
when I was growing up because I was so focused on what I knew I was going to do. It wasn't
Mhm.
what are you going to be? It was no, it's just a matter of time for me to be what I was
Right.
going to be.
Right.
You know, today there's so much distraction
Hmm.
of things. I mean, I still get messages from people all the time, you know, that I may have talked to a couple years ago about, you know, they say they want to get to the next step. And I give them the I tell them, hey, it's like I'm giving you the answers to the test.
Right.
This is what you got to do to get to the next step. And then they still try to figure things out. And then 2, 3 years later, they're still trying to figure things out. So the first thing I go back and say, again, you know, you talk about vision. Well, what's your vision? What's your goal? What's your plan? What are you willing to do
Right.
to make it work?
Mm.
I sat there going days without eating because I had no food. I had no money
Right.
to make my vision come
To
reality.
pass. That's right. That's right. That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's
I'm with
one
you.
of those things that I think too many people try to cater it to their environment,
Correct.
and
Correct.
that's a false vision
Correct.
because
Correct.
that's not reality.
That's right. That's right.
You know, my vision was my reality, but it was a reality that is potentially something that can happen.
Happen. Correct.
It's
Correct.
not a vision that I believe is reality. That is something that will never happen.
Right. Right. And you're right, Carlos. That's really good, man, because you gave a lot of information. But I'm gonna read something right here. It says, "For a vision is yet for a appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie.
Yep.
Though it tarry, wait for it." That's the part right here. Though it tarry, wait for it, like you said, because it will surely come. Basically, if you wait on it. And I'm saying that because you said something else. We began the podcast with developmental. That was the very first thing.
Yeah.
And then we talked about vision, but there's another word that I caught on that's part of my question is opportunity.
Yeah.
Because there's something that I always say: get ready, stay ready, and be ready.
Yeah.
Get ready, stay ready, and be ready.
Yeah.
Because I am ready.
Yeah.
But the problem is, you said it's distractions. There's a few other things that I know, which we already know, but we don't have enough time for that. But I said the vision part because we need to understand. If without a vision, you're gonna perish. You gotta have a vision. You gotta know where you're going. It's like driving a car on the interstate. I can't go down I-90 and say I'm going north when you're supposed to be going east. You have to have a direction. And like you just said, we're gonna talk about one more thing about opportunity. Let's talk about opportunities, because everybody in the States that I know, they think they're D1. Everybody think they're D1. Everybody. I'm like, dude, you can't. Your feet work is horrible. You run like you got bricks on your feet, and you can't throw past 88 miles per hour in the infield. And all you can do is throw, but you can't hit, you can't run. And there's 5 tools, which we know what the 5 tools are. Let's talk a little bit about opportunity. How do you got to have a developmental, the proper developmental. You got to have a vision, which leads you to an opportunity. Talk about how these opportunities have blessed you later in your life because you had a great developmental. And for last thing before I let you speak, Carlos, listen to this part. Stop making excuses, listeners, that I don't have anyone to teach me. I don't have this. That's just an excuse.
Yeah.
Me and Carlos ourselves. Carlos talked about his background. I'm talking about my background. I didn't have a dad to teach me how to play baseball.
Yeah.
He just threw it at me. I had to figure it out. This is way before we had social media. We had to write letters. We had to make phone calls, have interviews. So stop making excuses, people that listen to the show today, episode 75. Listen, you can do it if you want it. If I can do it, you can do it. So Carlos, talk about opportunities. Since you're now in Dubai, talk about how that has led you to where you are now.
So opportunity, I look at it like this. you create opportunities that you don't even see that are there. So how does that happen? You know, one of the things I tell people all the time is this, and this is one of the biggest issues I have with today's culture.
Okay.
Is today is so easy. We have Google. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got Google. Everybody, for some reason today, believes that all information out there is is new. Not all of it is new.
That's right.
It's
That's right.
been there. It's
Right.
been there before.
Right.
The problem today is people are taught that it needs to be verified. So think of it this way. I had a conversation with one of the former professional players,
Okay.
right? And we were talking, and the terminology he was using for pitching,
Okay.
tunneling, all of these words. And I said, listen, I said, you know, you all act like that's new stuff.
Right.
The only reason it's new words is because there's some technology company that tries to sell a product
All right.
that changes the verbiage
Verbiage.
to verify something that has already
Already
been
been around.
talked
right.
about.
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation with a guy named Perry Husband,
Okay.
right? Great dude, awesome. It was at a convention. He was speaking about something with pitching, effective velocity, and all that kind of stuff. This is when I just first met him,
Okay.
and I didn't know what he was speaking about. I didn't know who he really was. The convention was like over. I didn't get a chance to see him talk. I was doing other things, and we met. My buddy introduced us. He was the one running the convention. He introduced us, and he said, "Oh, this is what I talk about. You know, you should listen to whatever. It'd be great or whatever." And I said, "Well," and then we started talking about pitching. And I said, "Before you start talking," I said, "let me just describe," because he had asked me. I said, "Let me just describe what pitching is."
Okay.
So I spoke for about 30 minutes, and I told him this is what pitching is. And I said it in the most basic, simplest way without using any new terminology
Okay.
of anything that any technology companies are trying to sell you products that change the verbiage, right? And when I finished talking, he says, "You know what?" He goes, "There's not one person I have met that has ever described as simple pitching as you just described it." He goes, "And what you just described is what I teach, but using all the new terminology." And I told him, I said, that's because everything you teach and all these other people teach has always
Been around.
been there if
Right.
you listen.
That's right.
And if you're not trying to be sold a product, if you just listen. So with today's technology, it's so much easier to research. It's so much easier to listen. So I tell people, you know, the journey of what you're going to take as an athlete is your journey. It's not my journey. My journey is my journey. You're not taking my journey. You're not ever taking my journey.
Amen.
It
Amen.
just doesn't work that way.
That's right.
It doesn't mean my journey is better than yours. It doesn't mean
Correct.
yours is better than mine.
Correct.
This is what I had to do to get
Correct.
to where I had to
am.
go.
That's right.
How can you learn from me? How can you learn from other people? Sometimes you just got to listen. The problem today is everything needs to be verified. Well, you can't throw a baseball like that because the science behind this or the science behind that. Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I'm a minority. Science and doesn't really go the minority way.
That's right.
You know, going back to World War II, minorities weren't allowed to do things at nighttime because
Correct.
science proved that visually you can't see at night if you're a certain minority
Correct.
background.
Correct. 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 Correct.
But today, you want to use that word science. People
Correct.
don't understand that those are buzzwords. Those are marketing words. The science of hitting, the science of this, the science. Well, the science shows this. Well, the science shows this. Well, if I got a lot of money, I can make the science show whatever I want the
Right.
science to show.
Yeah.
too many people out there. The and I'm not gonna drop names of people,
Right.
whatever. But you know, you see stuff on the Instagrams, the Facebooks, and this and that. The science of this, the science of this. But then when you listen to them talk, and because they record everything,
Thing. Right.
you'll see that sometimes they'll say, "Well, there's no real science to scientific facts behind this. It's based
Correct.
on theory, or it's based on
Right.
this, or it's based on that." But they charge a lot of money for their product, or they charge a lot of money for their service,
You're right.
or they're charging a lot of money to change culture because today things, uh, you know, you have to verify certain things to be believable.
You got it. You got
I
it.
showed people a clip of Nolan Ryan talking back in the day, and he's just holding a baseball, and it's on YouTube. You can watch
I've
it and
seen it. I've
Google
seen
it.
it. Go ahead. Tell about it. I've
And
seen it.
he's like, you know, if you throw your fastball from here and then grip it, change up from here, whatever. Well, what do we call that today? Tunneling. What is it called in general?
Oh,
Pitching.
correct.
What's the goal of pitching? To try to repeat your motion over and
And
over.
over
Well, you're
again.
tunneling, you're tunneling, you're tunneling. Oh, he tunneled that ball very well. Well, basically, he pitched very well. So different terminologies need to be verified. Different sciences. People want to break things down. All of a sudden, people become, you know, educated on certain book smart on certain things, and now they're the genius.
Yeah,
And
you're
because
right.
they're making a lot of money
Money.
because they're convincing people of certain things, well,
Right.
that is their verification of, you know, something.
Right.
So
Right.
to me, when I talk to people about baseball, and this is the going a little further back of what we spoke about, is the BS.
Mm-hmm.
So in today's world, if you knock the BS out and you're true to yourself and you educate yourself on the real things that are taking place, it opens the door for opportunity,
Yes.
because more opportunity seems to be to people that are real. Because you may get a brief opportunity because you're BSing, but you're not going to last,
Right.
because eventually your BS doesn't hold
Right.
up. You know, baseball is simple. You throw a ball, you hit a ball, you field the ball, you throw a ball again to try to get somebody out, unless you catch it in the air.
That's right.
It's never going to change.
Never.
That's what it is. We can make different rules, or they can make different rules, but why are these rules being made on MLB level? That it's to try to get excitement, right? Because it's a business. You got to get people to come, and that's a different aspect
Right. Right.
of what we're talking about.
Correct.
But
Correct.
when you do things and you educate yourself, however your education is, that can open the door for opportunity.
Opportunity. Correct.
You know, I always, not to get personal with, you know, family business, but, you know, I have two kids, they're older now. And, you know, back in the day, one of the teachers was saying, you know, my daughter, her learning or this and that. And I said, listen, my daughter's smart. People have different ways of learning. You know, not everybody is book smart. Some people can get to the answer a different way.
Correct.
Some people learn differently. I'm a visual learner. So when I read things, I have trouble, you know,
Correct.
comprehending a lot of what I read. So I struggle sometimes in school, but I'm a visual learner. If I see it, I can learn it in 2 seconds,
That's right.
and I can repeat. So as an athlete, if you told me, "Hey, do this," I can repeat it.
Correct.
So I knew I was a visual learner. So for me today, a lot of things help because of YouTube and things like that. So when you put yourself in those positions where you can educate, when you put yourself and surround yourself with people that are more real than fake, you can get opportunities that you don't even know exist yet.
Correct.
And then you got to know when to create opportunity. So, you know, when I was not doing well in academics in college, I had to find a way to create another opportunity, not just give up,
I
you
get
know, and I created an opportunity that I took. Now, define opportunity. Opportunity might mean something different to certain people.
Correct. Correct.
That opportunity was for me playing baseball. I wasn't making any money. So people might say, well, that's not really an opportunity because you're not making a living, you're not making money, you're living in a place with no this or no this. Well, but for me, that was that was a step that would lead to other
That's right. That's right.
opportunities,
Right.
or it would lead to other creations of opportunities
Correct.
because I'm building myself a background. I'm
Correct.
building that foundation that you talked
That's
about.
right.
Today, kids are not creative. They're told like, well, your fastball is this because the Rapsodo or this technology says this.
That's right. You're right.
You
You're
know,
right.
if I went like you had mentioned, even listen to what you said. Well, if he's not throwing the ball faster than 88 from a certain whatever, how is he Division One? How is he this? How is he this? Well, because those are metrics, right?
Correct.
Those are metrics that we use today. Now, obviously, I tell people, baseball is like think of it as like a job resume, right? If you're trying to be a professional, the reason velo is important is because everybody can hit this at hitting speed, and your velo, that think of it as like your resume. Like if you graduated with a financial degree and you go to Wall Street, well, you're going to show up, you're going to wear in your job
Wear a
interview,
tie.
you're going to wear a suit and tie, you have your resume with your education, and if you worked in that field, you have your resume. So if you're going to be a baseball player, it's the same thing. Show up in your, for your interview. What's your metrics, right?
Correct.
Now, if your metrics are not what everybody else is comparing to, well, how do you still find your way in?
Mm.
There's other ways in.
Correct.
Are you a person that hustles? Are you a person that's a good teammate? Are you a person that can get the job done even though you don't have the velocity?
Correct.
Because you figured out how to perfect your footwork. You
Correct.
figured out how to perfect, your ability to learn the game, to, prejudge where the ball might be hit based on the pitch and this and your movements and things. So are there other things that you're doing that are more advanced that other guys might not be doing because a guy can throw the ball 90 something miles
Correct.
an hour from shortstop?
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And then
Mhm.
again, what's the culture feeding the athlete today?
Yeah.
Well, you have to be this, you have to be this, you have to lift the weight, you have to lift. The thing that drives me the nuts the most is you see baseball players training and they're running and they're throwing the ball as hard as they can to see how fast they throw. And you see them in the weight room and the guy lifts a certain amount of weight and everybody's cheering, he's got a PR. Hey, Carlos, what's your PR in this? I have no idea. Why do I have no idea? Because I'm focused on the result of what is on the field. I don't care how much weight I can lift.
Come on now. Come on.
I'm going to train, I'm going to do what I need to do,
But
but I'm not necessarily counting everything. You know what I mean? Because
with you.
I'm not focused on that.
mm,
If I lift a certain amount of weight and I can't do a certain amount of weight and you could do more, whatever, I don't care.
right.
I'm gonna beat you on the baseball field
Field.
where
That's
it
it.
matters. You see what I mean? And you see a lot of people, they care about their weight, how much they lifted in weight. So it's a
Right.
mental thing that a culture is building.
Wow.
Why is that culture being built like this?
Mm.
Because somebody's paying for this.
That's right. It goes back to what you said again, and I'm going to read something. It says in John 4:6, and Jesus said it to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man coming to me into the Father but by me. The key is the truth.
Yeah.
And we talked about that earlier, the truth. And we've talked about several things. We got Carlos Maribal with
Yeah.
Baseball United, baseball operation. We're talking about developmental. We're talking about vision. We're talking about opportunities. And we're talking about the truth.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of guys that are counterfeit. And that's an old school word. That's an
Yeah.
old school.
Google it.
Carlos, that's an old school word.
Google
Counterfeit. But
Yeah.
Carlos, man, this is really good. We're gonna take a quick break. I wanna ask you another question off the record. This is another
Yeah.
quick. Now, if you had to pick four guys, who would be your Mount Everest? Four guys, players of all time, yours, and why?
Well, you can kind of see them on my background. You can see Bob Gibson,
Okay,
Satchel Paige,
okay,
Sandy Koufax,
okay.
and Dwight Gooden.
Man, come on now. Shut the front door. That's it, brother. I love it.
Yeah.
Satchel Paige. Look at you. I
Now,
love
now
it,
there
Carlos.
obviously there's other players that
Correct.
can be that, but
That's your Mount Everest.
why are these guys? Why do I have pictures of these guys? I'll give you a rundown why.
Go ahead.
Dwight Gooden right here, right? When I was young, one of the first games I ever went to was the Mets. Dwight Gooden was pitching. I was like, oh my God,
This guy's
I
awesome.
fell in love. People would sit there and say, and he was like a role model to me, right? I wanted to be like that. Curveball, fastball, the excitement, strikeouts, everybody, Well, why do you want to be like Dwight Gooden? He was a drug addict. He ruined his career. I said, well, that's the role model you want. I said, why is that the role model you want? I was like, because here's a young kid who had the world in front of him. And he drank and did drugs, and his world was taken away.
Right, that's right.
Well, that's the role model I want, because I want to know that if I get involved in drugs and alcohol, then there's no baseball.
That's it.
So
That's it.
to me, that's what a role model is. The role model is not the guy who always does great. Because he's doing great. That's what you want to be. But
Right.
what do you have to look at?
Right.
So
Right.
for me as a young kid, seeing, hey, if you drink and do drugs and you party and do that stuff, well, you're probably not going to be a professional baseball player when
Very
you're a
long.
kid, if you're a kid doing it.
That's right.
Because even if you get to a high level, you're probably not going to stay there because
there.
you're focused on other things. And how many players have I come across that have been drafted, got the single A, double A, but they drank and they did this, and then all of a sudden they're like, man, if I only, yeah, I could have went out and had a drink, but if I would have got my rest and, I would have been this, and I probably would have played longer and reached the higher levels and blah blah blah. Well, that's a good role model to have. Plus, he was a great player.
Yeah, he was.
Sandy Koufax. I mean, one of the best pitchers ever.
Right.
It just from his ability to pitch, and it's just unbelievable, right? And behind me you got Bob Gibson.
Oh yeah.
Bob Gibson was just one of the best pitchers, dominant. I saw a thing, I think it was on Facebook. I think it was Joe Torre when he was managing the Mets. I think it was like 1981, 1982. He brought in Bob Gibson because he wanted to get the organization to be like more tough. And again, what do you see today? You don't see guys tough because they're too soft today. So back then, this is 81, 82, the organization didn't like that. They didn't like it because they thought he was too tough and too hard. So they got rid of him. So I put a comment on the thing. I said, yeah, but then look what happened to the 84, 85, 86 Mets.
That's right.
Like they were hitting everybody and throwing at everybody. So
Right.
tough worked.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? But he was also a great pitcher, and I
That's
liked his
right.
mentality on the mound. And then you got Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige to me is one of the greatest pitchers ever. But at the same time, look at his mentality.
Right.
His mentality was
Dominate.
whenever I get on the pitcher's mound, that person's trying to take my job. That person's trying to end my career. So he did what he had to do to succeed. Plus, playing back in the day that he played, he didn't get certain opportunities, and the life that he had to go through and to stay with baseball and to become who he became,
That's right.
that everybody knows. I mean, that story
That's
in itself is just remarkable.
Man.
And, people can question ability because it was at an older time. But, I mean, when you got people from those times and the newer times, and this is where listening to older players, experienced players, is important.
That's right.
Not just old school.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
it's the same stuff. Because
Right.
when Satchel Paige was older and new guys were coming up, it's the same story, it's the same cycle. So everybody out there who says they're new school today, you're going to be old school in a few years. And then what are you going to do?
I
You
like
know what
it,
I mean?
Carlos. I like it,
You're
Carlos.
going
That's
to be
good.
old school. So whatever you're teaching today, whatever
That's it.
technology you have,
It's
it's going to be old school
school sooner or later.
eventually. And the reason I say that is this: if the technology, and don't get me wrong, I believe and there's a role for technology, but
Yeah.
again, there's a role for it.
Right.
if the technology was the end all be all, there
Right.
wouldn't be a version 2.0,
That's
a
right.
version 3.0, an
That's right.
upgrade to your software, an
You're right.
upgrade to the program.
Right. Right. Right.
Because it would be, this is the
This
technology,
is it. There's
this
nothing
is
else.
it.
Mm-hmm.
All these different advances in technology tells
Right.
you what?
Right.
Tells you that there's always advancements and always something new, and then this becomes old school.
Wow.
So this is the part where we kind of put everything all together. You know, why are these guys on my wall? Is because each of them have a story that somebody can learn from. Why do new players, in my opinion, don't advance to certain levels where they should be? Is because they're not listening to the people before them
Correct. Correct.
so that they can learn something.
You're
And
right.
the thing about it is, you know, I'm a big believer in a lot of the philosophies of the way Bruce Lee was.
Okay.
And it's like, why not listen to everything you can and absorb what you feel is going to work for you?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the better athletes do that.
Yeah.
And they
Right.
absorb. You know, Deion Sanders, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Oh yeah.
prime time wasn't prime time when
Time.
he was a kid.
Correct.
Prime time, if you ever listen to the stories, prime time developed when he was in college.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
there's levels to certain things. What's the vision? You talked about vision. Look at prime time and his vision. Look at what he's doing today.
Correct.
I mean, it's pretty remarkable,
Yes.
his consistency of being that.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't matter how people portray him. He's been consistent with who he
He
is.
is. That's right.
You know,
And what he believes.
and what he believes the whole time.
He's not
You know,
changing.
Bo Jackson. You
Yep.
know, Bo Jackson was one of the Deanna Bo were probably the two greatest athletes ever.
Ever.
But Bo Jackson, you know, is remarkable. You know, the things that they did. But when you listen to those guys speak, hear the confidence that they had. When you listen to younger guys speak today, there's you don't have those.
No.
The confidence is not there. Why does Barry Bonds always talk today that if guys were playing and hit 2, 3 home runs, they would get balls thrown at them?
Correct.
Well, why?
Right. I
You
know
know,
why. Yeah.
There's reasons behind that.
Right.
Today they don't do that because it's just a different. To me, it's a different mentality,
Right.
and it's not marketable.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there's social media today. There's a whole bunch of different things, and people actually believe in a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And when they take the ball field, they're not genuine.
You're right.
They're trying to be somebody who they're not,
Not. You're right.
just because they're trying to get a paycheck.
Back
You
to
know,
what
that's
we
why I
talked
think
about.
that's why I like football players a little bit more because, you know, a lot of football players come from different backgrounds
Crowns. Right.
and not necessarily the backgrounds of other sports.
Yeah.
And when those guys are rewarded with their pay, it's usually later, unless they're like the first round picks or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's usually
Yeah.
later.
Later. Right. In
And
their
they
career.
earned it.
In their career. In their
You
career.
know, Michael Jordan mentioned one time he was like, you know, back when he played to get a sneaker contract, you had to earn it. Nowadays, they give it to kids that are coming out of high school, you know, and that haven't really earned it because they're
Correct.
thinking like maybe they turn into something. You
Correct.
know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you're getting a lot of these different, and that's just the way the culture is, and that's the way it is. And, you know, unfortunately, that's the way it is. But when you see certain athletes today that are more genuine and they come from humbling backgrounds, people cheer for those guys a little bit more, you
Mhm.
know, and because they get it.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
You're
And
right.
and they have the vision, they create the opportunity,
Threes.
and they have all of that stuff that goes with everything we've been talking about.
Well, hey, that's pretty good, man. I'm gonna give you another quick break. Now, this is something I do every podcast. You're gonna appreciate this one.
Yeah.
It's called a true triple play. I call
Yeah.
out a guy that's played baseball that people don't talk about, that
Yep.
don't have no recognition. I'm gonna give you three truths. That's why it's called a triple play. True triple play.
Yep.
His name is Martin. I gotta take off my glasses for this
Yeah.
one. He's Cuban. His name is Martin Dahigo. Dahigo.
Okay.
He was born May 25th, 1906 from Cuba.
Yep.
He died May 20th, 1971 in Cuba. He played in the Negro League. His debut in the Negro League was 1923 for the Cuban Stars.
Okay.
He was a four-time Hall of Famer. I don't know anyone but him. Four-time Hall of Famer in four leagues. He was in the Cuban Baseball Hall of Fame, the Mexican Baseball Hall of Fame, the National Baseball Hall of Fame, and the Dominican Hall of Fame. And he was inducted in the Hall of Fame of Baseball in 1977. He also was a two-time Negro All-Star. And I said Negro All-Star because he was Cuban.
Yep.
Also, he was the Eastern Color League batting champion. Okay, now you're gonna like this because I know your background.
Yeah.
He hit 302 for a lifetime, 302 lifetime. But also he was a pitcher. He won 252 games and lost 132. So he was Otani before there was Otani.
Yeah.
He was before Carlos was the dual player, the dual pitcher, because in your beginning you was a hitter and a pitcher.
Growing up and
You
stuff.
growing
Yeah,
up.
absolutely.
So his name is Martin Dihigo, Dihigo. Martin, he was Cuban. So that's a true triple play. I always had to do that because kids now don't like history. They don't look it up. They ain't gonna go look it up. But that's something I do on my show all the time. So when people say, "Man, what's a true triple play?" Then that's the true triple play. Now I got another question for you. This is an instant replay. It's called the instant replay. You've been around a lot of baseball. Can you share an instant replay that people that have not seen that you've seen in the Baseball United League that you can share with us in the states that you've seen a remarkable play?
Remarkable play.
Yeah, a play that we haven't seen here in the states. I'm trying to give us some recognition for Baseball United. Is there
I don't
anything?
know. I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know, man. I have to think. There's so many different things. I mean, one time in Taiwan, I saw 3 triples hit in a row, which is rare. Three
Three?
triples
In a row.
in a row. That was pretty rare. We were playing. I wasn't pitching at the time, but it was hit against us. It was 3 triples in a row.
Three.
So 3 in a row, which is something you rarely see a
See
triple,
that?
and
No.
there was 3 hit in a row.
No, you don't see that.
Pretty,
You
you
don't.
don't see that at all.
No. Triples? No.
Triples.
You may
Three
not give
triples.
a triple. Maybe you may get maybe in a whole season, maybe 3. Maybe.
Yeah, like there was 3 in a row, 3 batters, 3 triples in a row.
Mm.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Wow. Carlos, what about some of the guys that are playing now? Let's talk a little bit about the Baseball United before we close out. Let's talk about that. You're dealing with baseball operation. You're dealing with some very classic legends over there. Barry Larkin, I know, is one of them. There's a couple other guys I can't remember, but I know Barry Larkin is one. He's a key guy over there with the Baseball United, and I want to give a shout out for Baseball United. Keep doing what you're doing, guys. I'm gonna punch this out so everybody can hear this. So let's talk about Baseball United. It's been around. It just came out not too long ago. My question is, what are some of the missions to get some guys from different countries, or is just are you trying to go in the Western Hemisphere or the East, or are you trying to unite all countries together?
The idea is, Cash Shake is our CEO, leader, co-founder. John Medrick and a guy named Eddie Diaz. You have Barry Larkin, and the vision behind Cash and what Baseball United is trying to do is basically bring baseball to the Middle East.
Okay.
That's a region that doesn't have professional baseball.
Okay.
They play baseball. There's India. They're playing baseball in India. They're playing baseball in Pakistan and
Okay.
all those surrounding countries. But they don't really have any kind of professional baseball league.
Okay.
Any infrastructure of a place to a kid to kind of see where to go with baseball.
I got you.
MLB, NPB, all of those things are around, but it's not as readily available as people think. So,
Okay.
You may get kids in India and, Pakistan that they love baseball, they love to play baseball, and they don't have all the leagues like we have here. You
States,
mentioned those travel ball leagues and this league and that league, and they may play on their own and maybe have a couple of tournaments here and there, and then all it is just practice. So they don't really have much to kind of go on. So when you see like them finish maybe high school and there's some college, that's pretty much it. So as they get older, they'll transition to other sports
Right.
or just out of sports. So, you know, with Baseball United and Division of Cash Shake and Barry Larkin and all those other co-founders and investors, and it's basically to show a professional league to give that region an opportunity to see some professional baseball players and say, well, maybe I can be that one day.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, that, you know, because again, it's, you know, when you're talking about, you know, countries of the United States, Japan, and some of the bigger markets, it's not easy for a kid to just, you know, there's different rules, international rules, there's visas, there's this, there's that, there's a whole mess of things, of hurdles
You got
that
to go
it
through.
takes to go through.
Okay.
So, you know, Baseball United has that opportunity to have a professional league in the Middle East where it can show these kids and, hey,
Okay.
there's pro baseball now.
I
Now we
got you.
can learn to get behind something here. And then it opens up the door for other, you know, other recognized leagues and
That's good.
just baseball in the region. So
I like
for
it.
me, it was pretty cool. I mean, if you would have been there when we just had the UAE series and you would have been out there and watching, and a lot of those guys are former pro guys, whether they're big leaguer, former big leaguers, AAA, NPB, you know, any those professional leagues, you wouldn't really think you're in the Middle East. You wouldn't think you're in Dubai. Like,
Right.
you know, you would hear the crowd cheering,
Wow.
you know, the crack of the bat, and you would look around and be like, this is
Wow.
this is baseball, and you wouldn't even realize you're like in the middle of a desert.
Wow. That's
So
good,
it's
man.
an unreal experience. It's a surreal experience, and it's just again when you know going back to what we talked about before is opportunities. You know, just if you put yourselves in right situations, you know, opportunities can
Mm.
present themselves,
So,
or you can go
right.
create opportunities. But
Can
here's the
create
thing
some.
about that I'll say again with the opportunity thing is even if opportunities don't present themselves, you've got to fall in love with the process because just because and this is the part today with the youth is when people feel like when they work hard that there's supposed to be an end result,
Hmm.
but the end result can't be what you're working hard for because we don't know what the end result is going to be.
Correct.
So when the process is going on, if you don't love the process of what you're doing, there may never be an end result.
Wow.
And today, you know, too many people out there, kids and whatever, think like, oh, well, I busted my ass, or parents, I spent so much money that this
Money.
kid deserves to be Division 1, or this kid
Right.
deserves to be.
Come
No,
on.
you
Come
don't
on.
deserve anything.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Man.
you know, hopefully,
Mm. This is good.
like the Baseball United provides opportunities for kids, you know, in those regions to see professional baseball, and maybe they can start dreaming and putting their process together so
Right.
that they could play at those high levels, you know, that Baseball United can provide.
Hey, Carlos,
So,
got a question based
yeah.
on what you just said. This is a question. I didn't want to lose your train of thought. So with the Baseball United, for the listeners that are listening, is it paid? How many games is it? How can it? Is there open tryouts? I'm gonna get that out there
Well,
so the
yeah,
listeners can hear that.
we've only done events so far.
Okay.
So right now, you know, you literally you can't really play in the summer because it's too hot.
Okay.
So, you know, that comes from Cash
Okay.
Shake, who's the CEO. He
Okay.
decides what, you know, what we're gonna do, when we're gonna do it. What we've done so far is we've done a showcase.
Okay.
We've done a thing called the Arab Classic where we had teams of like Afghanistan and India, Pakistan, and those countries able to play on a field that we built,
Okay.
professional level field. And we
Okay.
just have what we call the UAE series, which was our two of our franchises, you know,
Okay.
the Arabia Wolves and the Mideast Falcons.
Okay.
So we're still in the building phase of what we're gonna do.
Okay.
I just would tell everybody to go to our website, baseballunited.com, and you can see everything that we're doing. And as you know, time comes out, if there's new events or things happen, you'll see all of that stuff
Okay.
probably through the website,
Okay.
or social media,
Okay.
our social media stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, tell people just be patient.
Okay.
It takes time to build.
That's right.
Uh,
We talked about that.
yeah, it takes time to
It takes
build
time.
things. It's not easy.
Okay.
You can see if you look at our social media, you'll see Cash Shake, explaining a lot of this constantly
Yeah.
about the process and, how it's not easy to do this. And
Right.
if it were easy, it would have been done before. So I would just tell people to kind of be patient and look at our social media and our website for any
Okay.
kind of announcements or news or anything like that. So,
Okay.
those are the things I would recommend now, and just be patient with us, because a lot of people, they see Dubai, they league, and then they don't really do the research. They don't really,
Okay.
look and see what we've done or what we're doing. They
Hmm.
just automatically assume it's like anything else.
Right.
Like, oh, how
Right.
many games you're playing, how many, like that kind of stuff. So I would just recommend people to do that.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the website for the people listening. Here it is right here.
Yeah,
That's Baseball United.
that was the
Yeah,
UAE series right there. You
there's
probably
right
can
there.
rewatch the games on there too.
And with that being said, Carlos Mirabal is with baseball operation with Baseball United, so he's one of the guys that has his hands in there. It's a legit league. Cash is doing a great job out there. I've been trying to get him on the show as well. He
No,
says
he's
he's gonna
doing amazing.
he says he's gonna come on, but it's
He's
just
a busy guy.
yeah. And also I think he had a death in the family or something came up.
Yeah, yeah. So,
He had a death.
give him time
Yeah.
with all that stuff.
So
And he
I
just had a new child as well. So,
oh
but
man,
he's a super busy guy. But he's
yeah,
awesome, man. He's doing a great job leading us, and he's just an awesome dude.
yeah, man. It
Hard,
seems to be.
hard worker.
It seems to be, man. It sounds like he's from New York.
Yeah, no, yeah,
I know. I just had to throw that in there. That's a little punch right there. He seems like he's genuine. He sounds like he knows what developmental is. He knows what vision is, and he's making
yeah,
an opportunity. That's basically what we talked about today: developmental, vision, and
yeah.
opportunity. And it's something that you said that was really powerful. And I really want to say I appreciate what you said. You said there's always opportunity around you. And you
Always.
said something else that I say all the time on my show. The problem is, are you listening? Because we're always talking, but we're never listening to know if there's an opportunity here or there. And it's just something that I go by all the time. This is something I go by. You talked about Bruce Lee. I talk about Jesus Christ. So I know for a fact when you're around just people in general, there's always opportunity. The question
Absolutely,
is, the question is, are you asking or are you inquiring for the opportunity that you feel that you're being led to? The problem is
absolutely.
people want it, they want it given to them. They don't want to do the
Yep.
research. Okay, I'm gonna look on Google. Okay, no, we need to do more than Google.
Yeah.
We need to do more than Google. I just want to throw that out there because you talked about Bruce Lee because Bruce Lee is a classic
Yep.
in my eyes. But for the kids today, they may not think that. Oh, Bruce Lee, he's old. I said, whatever. Okay, so that's another that's another day, another
Yeah.
session.
And I think you just exemplified what the culture is today. When somebody throws a name out there, they get the kids today or somebody, if
Right.
they don't hear of them, oh, that person's old, that person's this.
Yep.
But the information is what I think what gets lost today is a lot of information is repeated
Yeah.
in different ways.
That's right.
And
Nothing's
even the
new.
Bruce Lee and Jesus Christ and whoever it is, Muhammad Ali, and
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Exactly.
information is
It's
just
the same.
changed.
It's changed. It's the
It,
same
it's
thing.
it's the same thing. It's just the delivery is
It's
changed.
different. That's right.
But the teachings of everything today
Mm.
are from the past. So I'll give you an example. Like, if you ever look, I know there's some things on TV that talk about it with the whole Bruce Lee stuff,
Yeah.
right? I own a supplement company, right? But
Okay.
where do supplements come from, right? How did they start? If you ever look at Bruce Lee, he
Mm.
was always taking whatever vitamins, this protein, put it into a shake and drinking it. Well, the
Mm.
innovation of a protein shake, the innovation of taking vitamins and using them for this or that.
Correct.
So there's things in the past
Mm.
that are why we do things today,
Today.
why some of our philosophies or thinking or
That's it.
and the problem today which I hope more people can do. And this is why whenever I talk to people, I always have them try to research things in the past. Is because if you can learn a little bit from the past, it can progress you into the future
Right.
better.
Correct. Correct.
And Bruce Lee is somebody obviously I watched when I was a kid, but then I studied his Jeet Kune Do and I read a lot, and it's basically absorbing information that's going to be best for you and not
Correct.
processing what you don't need.
Correct.
Take what's going to work and throw away
Hmm.
what's not going to work.
Right.
It's what coaches do today. It's what a lot of people, you know, when they guide you in right directions. If you ever hear athletes today that are at the top levels, and it's the same philosophies.
Right.
It's the same stuff. It's how are
How
we
they
going to get
package it.
there?
How they
How
put
is it
how they put
packaged?
the package it different. It's the
Is
same
somebody
information.
trying to sell it to you,
That's right.
or is somebody trying to give it to you?
That's right.
It drives me nuts a lot of times when people talk about the science, because those are marketing words.
Yes.
Those are, but you're not, if you're gonna talk about that, it's hard for me, because that's like bullshit.
Mm.
Science is all around us. Science to me, science is more failure than it's more than success. What is it? To develop the light bulb, he failed 1,000 times, but then the 1,001,
Right.
he got it right.
Right.
But science is, to me, is more of the process,
Right.
right? It's the experiments.
Hmm.
He did 1,000 scientific experiments, and then he got it right
Right.
through the process.
Correct.
So people use those buzzwords and they actually believe it,
Hey,
and
you're right.
and they don't understand it. And I think what happens today is, if you look at some of the people in the past, you can learn, and it can help you develop
Right.
into a better player on the baseball field, or train it. Muhammad Ali, I like a lot of the things that Muhammad Ali talked about,
Hmm.
and again, take and absorb what can work. Do I know
Correct.
Muhammad Ali as a person? No.
No.
Was he a good person or bad person? I have no idea what he did behind closed doors or whatever. But he made a comment one time and said, "Hey, how many sit-ups did you do?" He goes, "I don't know." Why? Because I don't count. He goes, "I don't count until I start getting tired."
Correct. Come on
Because it
now.
doesn't matter until I get tired,
Tired.
because that's the 11th round, the 13th round, or back then the 15th round.
Correct. 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 Yeah.
So today it's like, you see people counting all the time, and sometimes the numbers, what do they really mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but the philosophy, well, ask any baseball player today, what's your PR in squatting or deadlifting? They're going to be like, oh, it's this, it's that. They're going to write it on the board.
More.
Well, when
Right.
I trained, I never really did a squat until later, like until I was older.
Hmm.
Like, because I didn't put it on my neck.
Hmm.
I held it in dumbbells, but I didn't put it on my neck. But why didn't I put it on my neck? Because I didn't want to pinch a nerve in my shoulder that can hurt me later for pitching. So find another way. So for me, it was holding dumbbells.
Wow.
Athletes, you can always get hurt doing athletic movements, but it's, you know, Tom Seaver, he didn't really open car doors with his right hand, because back then it opened and might pinch. Well, his right hand is what he needs for pitching.
Correct.
So if he hurts his left hand, well, he still needs his right hand. So
It's common sense,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, exactly.
It's
So
common sense.
today it's
Oh,
like, so things like that still carry over.
right.
But if you're going to a gym and you're paying trainers to train, they're going to keep record of how much weight you lift. And that's fine, because you want to monitor things. Again, that stuff is useful. But if I'm going to try to make you believe that doing a deadlift or a squat as a pitcher and getting the highest number rep is very important to you, I'm not teaching you what pitching is, because that's not pitching. That's the tools that we use to become better pitchers for certain parts of our body to get stronger. And you know what I'm saying? So what's the message being scent. You know, a lot of people love velocity in baseball. Everybody does. It's attractive. When you see a
Right.
guy throw 100 miles an hour, it's attractive. Everybody loves it. But today, is pitching really being taught? I don't believe it's being taught much because everybody looks at a computer screen and actually believes what the computer screen says.
Says. Right.
Oh, well, your spin rate is this, your ball is doing this, its axis is this, its velo is this, it's this. And then the pitcher thinks, oh my God, that's awesome, that's great. But the reality is, did you get the guy out?
Correct.
Because if you're walking everybody,
It doesn't mean
I don't
anything.
care how hard you throw.
Right. It don't mean
I
nothing.
don't care what your velo is or your access is or your spin rate is or whatever if you're walking guys. Do you see what I'm saying? So like what's the philosophy behind it? How many guys I talk to, hey, where are you playing? Oh, I'm not gonna play this year, I'm just gonna train. Well, I think you got it backwards. It should be play, train while you're playing, but play.
But you're
You're just
right,
gonna
Carlos.
train.
They
No,
don't do that. They don't
play.
do that, Carlos. You're right, Carlos. You 1,000%, not 100. You're 1,000% right because it goes back to what you said, the process. We're gonna put it like it is. We're gonna drop the mic. You said it so. You said so many great things, but the thing that just hit me really, that I talk about all the time because I coach here in South Florida as
Yeah,
well, and I train. The problem is this: it's the microwave generation. That's
yeah,
what it is. That's what it is. Microwave generation. We come from the crock pot generation.
yeah,
That's where we come from, and it's there's good things and bad in both. Like you said, it's not one size fits all. That's what you said,
absolutely.
and I agree with you. But another thing is this: the problem is this: they want self gratification quickly.
Yep,
And you know what? There's something I'm going to read something. It says, "Now faith is the substance things of hope for, evidence things not seen." You basically talked about having faith. Bottom line, Bruce Lee had faith. Muhammad Ali had faith. We all have to understand when you want something you don't see.
yeah,
Goes back to what I just read. You have to do what you have to do to get to what you need to do to get to what you need. And the problem is this: we're back to that microwave again. We're not in the crock pot. You said basically fall in love with the product. I'm gonna say it again.
yeah,
Fall in, not just be in love. You need to fall in love and stay in love because guess what? You're gonna go through the process in something.
yeah,
Maybe not baseball. Maybe with your kids, maybe with your
yeah,
job, your
absolutely.
career, maybe with your girlfriend, your wife, your family,
Yeah,
or you got a death in the family. You're gonna go through a process. So
yep,
how do you engage the process based on what we talked about today? You talked about developmental, we talked about vision, we
yeah,
talked about opportunity, and you said a lot of great things. Man, this is Carlos Mirabal with Baseball United. This is episode 75. I have had nothing but a blast because
yeah.
the bottom line is this, Carlos. You've said some things that most guys don't say.
No, they won't.
That's the bottom line. They're not gonna say it because you know what? They don't want to ruff the feathers.
No, because they're not getting paid.
Correct. But you're being genuine. And
Yeah,
that's why we talked before we came on the air. I ain't got a problem with it because I like real people. You may not like what he said or how he said it, but I can guarantee you what, you understood what he said.
yeah,
He went straight at you. He's bullseye on the target. So you can say, okay, you know what? Seville, Coach Lowry, Carlos Mirabal, you know what? This was a very rough episode, but it's truth. You don't, like I said, the truth should set you free. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like it. It's like this. It's like this. When you're making a cake, you can verify this. When your grandmother, when you were little, I seen my grandma made a cake from scratch, no
yeah,
ingredients, just everything was scratch, and she put a little bit of here, a little bit of here, and all looked nasty in the beginning, right?
yep,
And she said, "But don't jump up, don't jump, because the oven, we want to make sure
yeah,
it's beautiful." The problem is kids want to go to open the oven up real quick. Oh, it's done. No, don't do that. And I said that because you have given so many great nuggets today, Carlos, man. I just want to say thank you, man. Oh, my Lord. This has been great. This has been a blast, man. I want to ask you one question before we
yep,
close it out. This is post game. This is the last thing. You know what post game is. After the
yep.
game, the coach talks about things. You can go ahead and give me like a 2-minute closing about some things about life, baseball, kids that want to go D1, kids that want to go play international ball.
Yep.
Uh, I'm giving you 2 minutes to go ahead and close it out, and also don't forget to put in the website how people can connect with you or Baseball United.
I would just say, well, baseballunited.com is a website. You can check out all of our social media on there too. A lot of great things. Cash Shake, follow him. Very inspirational, very motivational, get you pumped up. Great leader, great dude. He's doing great things.
Yeah.
Follow him. Follow Baseball United. That's a given. You have to do that.
Yes.
For me, you could always find me. Just Google my name. I'm on social media. I'm not a big social media guy, but I'm on
Okay.
there. Things like that. I would say this: no matter what I say, no matter what anybody else says, I kind of go at this, and this is experience, right? This is why experienced people are important. This is why life is going to be experienced. I'm going to be 52 years old next month,
Okay.
and
Well, happy
perfect.
birthday, brother.
I appreciate it. Perfect example is, I was coaching a couple years back at 49 years old, 50 years old,
Okay.
and actually in the Frontier League, and actually pitched. And my
Really?
manager was like, "Hey, have your spikes." And he put me in the game, and I pitched,
Okay.
and I did well.
Okay.
And I only threw like 10 warm-up pitches, and people were like, "Oh my God, how'd you do that?" Whatever. It's like, because in my brain, I know what I can do. I've reached that level, and experience helps me to understand as I know what I can do. I know what my body's capable of doing. If I have to tell anybody, a message to anybody out there, is understand that life is always going to move forward,
Mm,
whether you like it or not.
I like it.
You listen to me or listen to anybody, it doesn't matter. Time is always moving forward. Those are things we don't control. But if you focus on what you can only control,
Mm,
you've then mastered the experiences that you'll get when you're older. And you'll take that whole Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali focus of understanding what works for you and what doesn't work.
mm-hmm.
And we only get that with experience.
That's
So
right.
if something goes bad in your life, something goes good in your life, life is going to move forward. And those experiences are going to stick with you until you get older. And then you're going to turn around and realize one day,
Yeah.
and you're going to look back and
Yeah.
you're going to take your decisions, whether they're good or bad, and you're going to say, if I would have did this better, maybe this would have happened, or if I
Right.
would have did that, maybe this could have happened. So understand that when you listen to people like myself or you or someone else that might be older,
That's right.
we don't come up with stuff just to
Stuff.
come up with stuff.
That's
Our
right.
stuff comes from experiences
Experience.
of good and bad and ugly and everything.
That's right.
So when we get to these levels and we tell you something,
Something.
it's something because we've seen everything that works and we've seen things that don't work. BS is still BS no matter how you want to candy coat it.
Right. Right.
But just understand that life keeps going forward. Time keeps moving forward.
Man.
So whatever you're doing in your life right now, whatever you're doing with your time, try to just take a step back, understand what you're doing, have the vision of wherever it is you're going to go, develop a plan, develop a process, whether the process is listening to older people, younger, whatever it is. Today we have Google, so it's a little easier. I could say Bob Gibson, somebody can Google Bob Gibson, Satchel Paige.
Right. Right.
There's
Right.
no reason you still can't learn from those guys because it's the same stuff
Stuff.
in life. Life moves forward, but
Mm,
it's not like anything is being recreated.
that's right.
In baseball, you're gonna swing a bat, you're gonna hit a
Hit a
ball, or you're
ball.
not gonna hit a ball. You're gonna throw a pitch, it's gonna be a ball, a strike.
Like,
Somebody's
yeah,
gonna hit it. Nothing has changed.
that's right.
How we deliver the information and
Information.
how we do that stuff. Yeah, that stuff might always be trying to evolve
Correct.
because that's just life. It moves
That's right.
forward.
That's
So, listen to some of the older people speak. You know, a great person to listen to is the Marvin Freeman. I don't know him personally, but information he gives on his, stuff about pitching and, it's great
yeah.
information.
Right.
You know,
He
there's
is.
some people out there that don't provide great information. Listen to them too, because they're giving us the answers. If you're a lot of those hitters and pitchers out there, they're giving us the answers on how to beat them.
Right. Right.
You know, like because they're so locked into their way that they don't
Wow.
realize that their way is giving us the keys on how to get those guys out if they're hitters, and they're giving us the information on how to hit them if they're pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing experience teaches us. You know, like these people don't realize that they're giving the answers to their test.
That's right.
So if you're going to be one way on how you're talking about pitching,
Oh, wow.
experienced people know how to hit against you. If you're
Mm.
giving information on hitting one way, experienced pitchers know how to
Mm.
get you out. And I've proved that at 49 or 50 years old,
Wow.
still pitching. You see what I'm saying? So I can say, yeah, I pitched back in the day, I pitched now, and I pitched recently against professionals, and I got some outs. So if you know, that's just I don't even know what else to say. It's just you know, if you understand a lot of that and you stay positive, even when you're supposed to be acting negative, you stay positive.
Mm-hmm.
That's the opportunities that you don't even know exist. That'll be there just because of your thought process.
I
Whether
like
it's
it.
faith, whether it's trusting the process, whether it's you know, you see the Kobe Bryants talk about all of that stuff with the process, and you know, Michael Jordan is that well, those guys are elite athletes because of those things. So if
Correct.
you listen to those guys, you know, you're not just going to be a mediocre.
Right.
You're going to be great. You know,
Man.
so
Wow.
take that information, absorb it, use what you can, and discard what won't work.
Work for you. Hey, Carlos, man, this has been great, man. Episode 75. Carlos Mirabal. Oh my, wow, wow. This is a great episode, man.
Yeah,
One of the best, man. Whew, this is pretty good, great information. I
yeah,
mean, we talked
a
about
lot.
developmental opportunity, vision, dreams.
Once I get talking, I don't stop.
But the key is this, Carlos. I mean, I'm very grateful, but you can
Yeah,
tell I'm a listener. I don't have a problem. I mean,
yeah,
I don't have a problem because, like you said, wisdom kicks in,
yeah,
and all that I get and get an understanding. You got to know when you're speaking to someone, let them talk.
yeah.
And this goes back to what I'm going to close out right now because you said it. You basically gave my closing already, Carlos.
Yeah.
You gave my closing, so
But see, the thing too that's really cool about all of this is how I'm talking, but and it's how I really talk. But at the same time, if you give me a glove and put me on the mound, that mentality of I'm gonna beat you
dominate,
and
dominate.
dominate.
I
And now I do understand that my body is older. I do understand I'm not in as great shape as I used to be, but my mind doesn't know that.
That's right. Hey,
My mind doesn't know it.
I know, Carlos. Listen,
You know.
you have. I don't even think you heard one of my podcasts. So pretty much almost everything you've said, I've said
Yeah.
all the time.
Nice.
And I'm getting ready to close it out, Carlos. This is man, we've had a blast, man. This has been great, man. I appreciate you coming on. Episode 75. Carlos Mirabal works with Baseball United. It's in Dubai, a new league, baseball league, professional baseball league. If you want any information, go to baseballunited.com. Also, it's on Instagram.
Yeah.
All the information you need to go. Also, you can go to also LinkedIn as well. If you
Yeah.
have any question, you can hit up Carlos Mirabal. He's not on social media, but you can probably catch
I'm
him.
on there. I'm on there. You can reach out. I mean,
You can reach out to him.
sometimes I respond, sometimes I don't.
But hey, you heard it from him, so you already know. So don't get
Yeah.
mad at, don't get at me. I'm just a delivery man. But this
Yeah.
is the question I'm asking, Carlos. Thank you. I'm just gonna go ahead and close it out. The question I always ask the listeners, because this is the question. You're gonna love this. You're gonna appreciate this. What direction are you going in? Where are you being led? LED. Where are you being led, listeners? You've heard a whole lot of information about developmental. We talked about vision. We talked about opportunities. We talked about everything you can think of. So my question is this, and Carlos said it, so I always say it all the time. So this is nothing new. Carlos is gonna love this. What do you mean by led? LED. What does the L stand for, Seville? Coach Larry, what does that mean? L stands for listen. Listen to everything has been said today. Listen comes by those two ears God blessed you with, and in order to listen, it takes faith to listen.
Yeah.
Faith is something you have to listen. So when you listen, that means you don't talk. You absorb it, and then from that, the L, the next letter, Carlos, is what? E, right? LE, right? And E stands for what? Execute. Execute on everything that you heard today. So listen, execute, which the last letter, which Carlos said it, and I'm great. It is dominate. LED. Listen, execute, dominate. This is Coach Lowry. Hey, episode 75, Carlos Mirabal with Baseball United. Hope you guys enjoyed the show today. It has been nothing but a blast. The key words today is development, vision, and opportunity. It's your very own Coach Lowry with Carlos Mirabal, Baseball United. Hope you guys have a blessed and prosperous day. As I say all the time, stay blessed, never stress. God bless you guys. Take care. Love you. Take care, brother. Bye-bye.